Okay, I'm Derrick Thompson from Hitachi, Australia, and I'm going to talk about something that's both exciting and boring at the same time. And so just remember that title, Next Year of Livestock Production. But before I start, I've only got 15 minutes, but I'd like to take 3 minutes to tell you a little bit about Hitachi, because I can imagine with 200 people in the room, typically if I ask anyone that knows anything about Hitachi, I would get 200 different answers. So Hitachi is a global technology company. We're technology. We're not farmers, we're not agronomists, we're a technology company. We turn about 126 billion Australian dollars worldwide. We employ just under 300,000 people. We are quite big in technology. But the important thing of this slide is really the bit on the right. And that is we have a social innovation business that powers for good. So basically that takes all this technology across all our divisions and operations and combines them for the betterment of society and communities. In our case, it's agriculture. So for people that don't know us, believe it or not, in Oceania, which is principally Australia and New Zealand, but it does cover the islands as well, we turn now, over $2.4 billion locally. We employ over 3,500 people, and probably a lot of people don't even know that. But we do things like, train control systems for those that have been to Sydney and rode the Waratah trains. That's what that train is. Signalling systems for freight, signalling systems for the mining industry. We have solutions that are consumer products, TVs, washing machines and all of that. We have industrial equipment. We do a lot of power stations. So if you're in Queensland, believe it or not, most of the power stations built up in Queensland some years ago, it's all Hitachi. We also have a big business in this country in data systems, in hardware, computer software, and that is a very big business that not many people know about. We have consulting business, and the big thing is, of course, we have huge solutions in the mining industry, complete suite of solutions from trucks to analytics and all sorts of things in between. But the important thing for us is you can combine all of this, and for Australia, we have a big presence in agriculture, but not many people know about it. So, just to give you an idea, Hitachi, being a technology company, we lead the world in technology patents. And some of this is in IoT. The strength of us, how much we invest in revenue and turnover in IoT is quite big, and we employ thousands of people in this area. So this conference is about immersive technology, and so you can sort of gather by this slide. I'm going to talk about something that's exciting for the industry, but in itself is quite boring, and that's about data. And we say you need to immerse yourself in your data. Treat your data asset just like you treat your farming asset. It's of extreme value to you. It's all around you. It comes from everywhere today. It is not a two-dimensional spreadsheet. It is around you and surrounds you. And the more you can get, the better decision-making you can actually make. So rather than bore the tears of technology, let me give you just 2 case studies that are in operation here in Australia. One's in the sheep industry, one's in the cattle industry. So we'll do the sheep station. And where the title for my slide presentation came from actually comes from an MLA feedback article that was in the Land magazine last December. And the magazine actually just summarised this particular example of a progressive 7th-generation farmer who can see the future. And basically, the article talks about what his objectives were, what he's trying to achieve, get his animals to the right rate at the right time for the right price. That's what he's trying to do. It also says that he's already got some stuff on site. He's already got some technology. He already has the ID tags, very progressive. He has farm mapping. He has a very sophisticated financial system that's there. So, but what to do? It also summarises that basically the solution he's deploying, what he's using, really is taking the guesswork out of his farming practices, to the point that when I go through this, basically his conclusion was he threw away his whiteboard and his notebooks because he doesn't need them anymore. So what's it about? This is the actual solution to give you an idea. Now, he's got an objective that he wants to have his decision-making capability through one simple portal. That's his objective. His vision is to be able to use that to enhance his business so he can get direct access to the premium export markets under his own brand. That's his vision, but there's some objectives he's got to do along the way. And this shows you that if you look at the little bit to the left, he has some technology and some apps, which probably a lot of you are already familiar with, that he already used. But then there's a little bit to the right there where he started to add more data on his own volition. He could see the value of adding some IoT to trial in this project that we did for him. He could see the value of adding a weather station because he's got some really serious problems. Because you can see the pictures here now are a little bit browner than the pictures that were on the previous slide. It's called the drought, and they're still suffering from the drought. So it's a challenge. So what's the solution look like? Well, essentially, you've got to start somewhere. And basically, you've got to have something where he still gets access to everything he's got on site. So if he doesn't want to, look at our solution or his global thing, he wants to delve into something specific like his financials or something, he still has the access. But this portal gives him access to his whole farming system. But how do we do that? We do it slightly differently in that we go to the farm, we sit down with the farmer, we sit down with his agronomists, his suppliers, his banks, whatever the farmer thinks is important for him to bring into this solution, we sit down and work it out with him. We then take the next step and collaborate with him as what's his important things he needs now? What is he trying to achieve immediately? What's his long-term goal? How do you want it to look? What's the value for the 7 guys that work on the farm? How are they going to use it? We have to sit down and work with him to work that out. You cannot develop this in a vacuum. Otherwise, you just end up with, I guess you'd call it an app and you've got to fit into this box. That's not what this is about. This is a farm management system that is all-encompassing and very, how shall I say, it's complex. It looks complicated, but actually it's pretty straightforward. And then once we've got that, we start to transform. We work with him to deliver it and transform his farm. So I just do a couple of screenshots to give you a feel for what it can look like. I'm not going to show you the pretty graphic ones and his maps, his Google Maps of his field, which are live and interactive, because you've seen a lot of that today, over the last day and a half. What this is shows you the strength of the collaboration. This is just one screen that just shows him when he does a draft of the animals coming onto his property. So he's a finishing station. And see how you collaborate with them. You come up with simple things. You see how it's colour-coded in red and blue and green and yellow? That's their idea. And the reason it's their idea is because this made the whole thing of change management and simplicity taking this on board came from them. Because when you're actually on his farm, those drafting pens and how it's done are red, blue, green, yellow. And they line up, the data they see on their screens is lining up with exactly what is out in the field. That suggestion came from them. And that's why collaboration with the farmer to deliver these solutions is so important. But behind those type of slides, and the key thing here is, remember at the beginning I said you had EID tags. So when the sheep gets to the farm, they've already got the tag in it because his breeders do that for him. So they get a price premium to put that on. So before, it was good. He could read the information, so he knows what animals are coming. But now, underneath that first screen you see, he can look at each and every individual animal on its journey through his farm, through the fields, into the feedlots, and when it's going on to the truck to go to his processor. He now has complete provenance of those animals. He's invested in other technology because, this is not necessarily straightforward. Sheep don't do what you want them to do all the time. And, they wander off, they may die, there's a lot of things happen. So he's invested in technology to be able to read that information out in the field, down the road where the sheep's wandered off, but we get that information wirelessly straight away. It's fed into his system and program. He knows where to put that sheep, where it came from, and all of that. So all this is in operation today and working. It's just the tip of this iceberg. This one's just to show you that the complicated and the bit that's the secret sauce of how this gets done. And that's because we've taken a solution that Hitachi uses for manufacturing, for mining, for the automotive industry, and used that and deployed it here in Australia to say, hey, there's a gap in the agricultural industry. There's a lot of good technology, a lot of great things happening out there, but you've got to bring it all together. You've got to make it easy to use. You've got to harness that power of that data you've already got and bring it together. This shows you just a little bit of how it's done. You know, the data comes in and out, and you can talk to your apps, you can find information back. Some applications you can't quite do that, and that's what the big red X's are for. You can't quite do what you think the app can do. But then it comes up and we do all the security auditing and making sure the data's secure and everything. We do all the handshaking. That we don't care what format or what standard it is or how it comes. We can work through that. That's what Hitachi does, because if you're in the mining industry or the automotive industry, standards aren't necessarily standard. It's a standard for Caterpillar, but Komatsu is completely different. And then Hitachi is completely different again. So what can he do now? He has a solution that today he can start adding more and more things to do. So he can add camera analytics. And we're not talking about animal health here. It's security. It's to identify trucks coming and going from his farm and doing analytics that to reduce his theft and improve his OH&S. But he can, you know, he's got his satellite imaging working now, which after about 9 months, very accurate. You know, he's adding more IoT sensors across his farm because it saves him time, money and effort. And also now we can start to expand the whole internals of the solution he's got. And it started the journey of documenting his travel towards the export market. You know, so there's things you can do in the future that the system has to learn, has to get more information. And then in the future, you can start adding more things. He's already started on the genetic thing. One of the first things out there, it's a 60-40 rule. It's not genetics that's going to make a big change from his breeders. It's going to be the husbandry on site. And this information is now fed back to his breeders for improvement. Quickly, just another case study in the cattle industry. Slightly bigger operation. It's not 44,000 head, as you can see. It's a slightly bigger operation with quite a few 100,000. And they turn over, you know, they have to process 1,250 a day. And so, but this one, the thing about this is cattle management intelligence. It's another MLA initiative, an MLA semi-funded project to bring, you know, true value to the red meat industry. Is that we take all the data on these properties, on everything that's there and their workings and their financial data, all the historical data, and now we're driving it down the supply chain. We're going from the farm now, we're going from the feedlot, we're going down the supply chain to give that provenance, which is very much in demand for all the buyers from overseas. And as you can see, just a quick screenshot, it looks different to the one you see in the sheep industry, because this is how this consumer wants to use it. He wants to have it very simple. He wants it colour-coded in certain ways. He wants to have his graphics capability and to be able to see it. So remember this slide from the very beginning. It's about immersing yourself. There's so much data out there. Immerse yourself in your data. Don't just let it, you know, sit there. Use it. Get value out of it, because the future's here now. These are screenshots from the actual farms that show you that this is in real time, real use today. These are, you know, the one on the right, that's a touch-sensitive screen. He can look at his whole thing by not typing anything. He's got his complete management of his farm by looking at that screen. And their operational people look at that every Monday morning before they go out to work, so that they can see what's going on in their farm before they have to go out there. The future is here now. And so why do you want to do it? It's simple. These type of things and the technology you've seen over these last day and a half, these are all great things, and they're all going to contribute to the sustainability and improved margins of a farming operation, because that's what it's all about. You want to be able to have a future in your farm, and you want to be able to have an affordable life. And that's what these technologies you see today and the stuff that Hitachi is doing is driving towards that. Thank you.